Hey guys, it's Julia and welcome back to my channel, and for today's video I'm here to do a very exciting video, and today I'm going to be doing a book review and discussion on A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. And before you guys ask, I am late on this bandwagon, like really late, but I read the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, when it came out, so in 2015, and I did a review on it, so if you're interested in checking that out, I'll link it down below. But I surprisingly liked this, which I was surprised by because it was my first Sarah J Maas book, and she has a ton of hype as an author, and I just love the writing of this book. I was surprised that I could imagine everything so well, because usually I have some trouble with high fantasy and things like that, but I loved Feyre and the world, and at the time I liked Tamlin. Anyways, talk about that later. But I just didn't, when A Court of Mist and Fury came out, the hype like terrified me because I was like, no. I actually ended up starting it a long time ago. I read 60 pages and then I just stopped. Don't know why. But I thought since the next book is came out, my bad, I would pick this up and finally read it. It was really good. It was really good. I really enjoyed my time. Basically, I'll get the basics down. If you do not know, this is the first book in the series, and it's a rough Beauty and the Beast retelling, sort of, and we follow a girl named Feyre who one day is out hunting, and she is trying to bring back food for her family, and she by accidentally kills a fairy. You're not supposed to kill fairies, so she gets sent to live with one of these, with the High Lord, who's the Beast in this sense, and it's about her and in this new world and discovering all these new things and these new people and all that sort of jazz. But I'll really tell you what book 2 follows until we get into spoilers, but this was just fabulous. It's massive. It's like 600 pages, but it was great. And this just came out. So I'm just sitting here with all of these and I'm like, don't touch me, like check back on me in a week, like we'll see how I am, you know? I still haven't read this. I'm super excited to, but I wanted to film my review for this book first. I'm blabbering a lot, if you've noticed. I wanted to finish my book review for A Court of Mist and Fury first, so let's talk about this. I love this book. I thought the writing was fantastic. I thought just so much was happening. The characters I love. Feyre made some iffy decisions at one point, but I love Feyre as a character. I think she's super strong and badass, and I love Rhys. The angst in this book though, but yeah, I hate Tamlin. He can leave, but yeah, those are my non-spoilery thoughts. I would highly recommend it. I haven't even given this a rating yet, but it's probably gonna be like a 4.5 or something really good. For most people it's a 5-star book, but for me, since I'm so picky, I never give books 5 stars, so it's probably like a 4 or 4.5. But I recommend picking this book up, and if you are scared of the hype, definitely check it out. I love the world, I love the Night Court, I love all the new characters we were introduced to. It was just a good time. So yeah, let's get into spoilers now. So I tabbed a lot of things in this book, so I'm going to be going over my tabs for the most part. But I just love his snark so much, and in one of the lines it says, "If he pisses you off, Feyre, feel free to just shove him over the rail of the nearest balcony." Yes. This book, and Feyre was going through a rough time after the events of book 1, so a lot of shit has been going down. There's like the wedding happening with her and Tamlin, and I'm like, no thanks. Please stop, you know, no. Actually, that's a lie. At the beginning of this book, I was still kind of about Tamlin, and in Court of Thorns and Roses, I was about Tamlin too. But then we got to know Rhys, and I was like, ugh. At first, I felt like they were really pushing Rhys onto us, like they were like totally making us love him and hate Tamlin. I'm like, yo, you're coming on a little strong. Like I can tell what's going on here, but I grew to really like Rhys, and so it's okay. I love this quote that Feyre says when she says, "I was burning through books every day, stories about people and places I've never heard of. They were perhaps the only thing that kept me from teetering into utter despair." I'm gonna put the book down so I can move freely. But let's talk about the big event in this book when Tamlin leaves Feyre in the house, which, why would you do that? She wants to come help. She wants to come fight. And you're like, no, she's my fiance. She's going to be my wife. No, let's like keep her safe, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but the girl wants to leave. Like, she wants to do something. Like, do you blame her? Like, what is this? And then he leaves her in the house. Like, I'm sorry. Do you have a problem? Like, you trap her in the house. So she's like freaking out, and Rhysand comes to her rescue, which made me so happy. And I was like, yes, please. I don't want any more Tamlin. Thank you. And I love Lucien. Is that weird? I know he's like Tamlin's loyal friend and all that shit, but I liked him, except when he didn't help Feyre. That wasn't nice. Don't do that. But for the most part, I liked Lucien. I thought he was way better than Tamlin. So I was like, Tamlin can leave. But Rhysand came to the rescue, and I was like, thank you. I absolutely loved how much Feyre's character developed in this book. Like, she just totally just kicked ass, and she was always like, there's this one line that was like, I was not prey any longer. I decided as I eased up to the door, I was not a mouse, I was a wolf. Yes, honey, kill him. Like, this, I was just like literally just being like, yes, yes, like the whole book. I was like, when Feyre would like talk about how confident she's feeling and like how good and blah blah blah, you know, how badass she is, I was like, yes, yes, you know, I was feeling good. And it was like, she's like, I was not a pet, not a doll, not an animal. I was a survivor. I was strong. I would not be weak or helpless again. I could not be broken, tamed. We're talking about, and in this book a lot, we bring up the events of the first book. So like the Under the Mountain talk and stuff. And this section where Rhysand was like, I have two kinds of nightmares. The ones where I'm Amarianthus, is that her name? I don't even know. And her whore, basically. Or my friends are. And the ones when I hear your neck snap and see the light leave your eyes. I was like, this is so sad. So talking about some of the angst and the romance in this book. So about Tamlin's wedding before, Rhysand interrupts it and like takes Feyre, which I'm like, thank God, like please get her out of there. And from then on, they have like a good like sexual chemistry going on. Like they got the angst going, they got the snarkiness going, they got all of that. And like the whole book, I'm like, can you get together, please? Like that, I've been waiting for this. Like I've been waiting for you guys. Like, are you gonna, are you guys gonna like make out or not? Like what's happening? Like hurry up. I wanna hurry up. I'm waiting. And we get all this chemistry, and then they were talking about wingspans and like how the wingspan, how big your wingspan is measures to the size of something else. And they were talking about that, and I was just like, oh, I love this part, this whole book, but I love this part when Feyre is talking to Amaran. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But she says, but I forgot to tell him, I said quietly, opening the door, that the villain is usually the person who locks up the maiden and throws away the key. Oh, I shrugged. He was the one who let me out. Oh, and we have this great scene, this interesting scene in the Court of Nightmares when Rhysand and Feyre are sitting on that like throne, and he's like treating her as like a pet, which I was like, oh, but it was just like a super lovey-dovey scene, and then all the people were watching, and I was just like, right. I just thought it was an amusing scene. It was also one of the first times that they were like kissing and doing all that stuff and shit. It was very public, but it was like, finally, her, like, yes. We get into some of like the dark shit that's happening, which the whole book is technically kind of dark anyways, because we are in like the night court darkness, you know, but actually the night court's really beautiful. But he'd murdered Rhysand's family, the High Lord I'd loved. He'd murdered his friend's family, and when I asked how his family died, he'd merely told me a rival court had done it. Rhysand had done it. And like Tamlin never told Feyre about all this shit that was happening. Like, are you kidding me? We also have that scene. There's so many scenes that I want to talk about, but we have that one scene where Feyre is in, her and Rhysand are like doing their thing, doing what they gotta do, and then Lucien appears, and he's like, Feyre, we've been looking for you. And she's like, oh. And he's like, come with me. And he like extends his hand, and then Feyre's just like, should I grab his hand? Should I stay with Rhysand? And I'm like, you better not grab his hand, girl. I would swear to God. And she doesn't, which I love. As much as I like Lucien, I was like, please don't go back to Tamlin. please don't. And it was just so nice that she just stayed with Rhysand. And he was like, I was worried you were gonna grab his hand, but like I would have accepted it. And I was like, oh, I love this. She tells Lucien a message for Tamlin. She's like, sends anyone else into these lands, I will hunt each and every one of you down, and I will demonstrate exactly what the darkness has taught me. And then she grows these wings, which at that point I was like gasping. I was like, holy shit, like what's happening? And Rhysand was just like, you look good with wings. And I was like fanning myself because I was like, holy shit. And then they were talking about, Rhysand and Feyre were talking about if Lucien had taken her instead of asked her. Rhysand was like, then I would have torn apart the world to get you back. I still love that Feyre paints. Like, I love when she's in the house and she's taking a break from Rhysand, which at first I was like, come, like, no. But I was like, okay, you girl, take your time. Like, okay. First I was like, don't run away from him, but not the point. She starts painting all over the walls, and I was like, yes, like she's doing her artwork all over the walls. She's drawing everyone in Rhysand's inner circle. I was like, yes. And when he shows up at the door, and I was so happy. I was like, thank the Lord that he's there. Thank you. Finally. I was like, just finally. And he's like, why didn't you paint my eyes on the wall? And she was just saying like, I would have to look at them and I'd miss you. And I was like, just give me like 10 years please to recover. But that was just moving. I love when Feyre was talking about teaching others, and she's like, maybe teach the others who were like me, broken in places and trying to fight it, trying to learn who they were around the dark and pain. And I would go home at the end of every day exhausted but content, fulfilled, happy. And we get the big bomb revealed, which is when Rhysand gets hurt with those arrows and Feyre saves him basically. But she comes to the realization of something, that that being, I don't even remember what it was called, tells her that Rhysand is her mate, which is a huge deal. And when she confronted him later about it, he was like, yeah, I didn't want to tell you, like I knew for so long. Like he was like dreaming of her like before he met her, and he was like, I knew right then what you were. I knew that you were my mate. You were in love with another male and had destroyed yourself to save him, and that I didn't care. If you were going to die, I was going to die with you. I wouldn't stop thinking it over as you screamed as I tried to kill her. You were my mate, my mate, my mate. Then she snapped your neck. Tears rolled down his face, and I felt you die, he whispered. Tears were spreading down my own cheek, and this beautiful, wonderful thing that had come into my life, this gift from the cauldron, it was gone. In my desperation, I clung to that bond. Not the bargain. The bargain was nothing. The bargain was like a cobweb, but I grabbed the bond between us and tugged. I willed you to hold on, to stay with me. Because if we could get free, then all seven of us were there. We could bring you back, and I didn't care if I had to slice into all the minds of them to do it. I'd make them save you. You'd freed us with your last breath and my power, and I wrapped my power around the bond, the mating bond, and I could feel you flickered there, holding on. Watch me start crying, honestly. I never cried while reading this book. I don't cry while I read, but I was like gasping and like yelling, but yeah. Then at the end, like around the 530 page mark, we finally have all those like steamy scenes that like everyone was waiting for the whole book. But they were a little bit anticlimactic. Some of them were. Some of them I was like, really? That's it? But, you know, they were fine. But, you know, finally, like, took 500 pages for that. Finally. I hear all this shit about the sisters and like how they became, now they're immortal, and now Lucien might be bonded with Ilian or Nesta or whatever her face is. And I just kind of like, I finished this at 5 a.m. this morning, so something's a little rough in my mind at the moment. But I love this. My mate mumbled, Feyre Cursebreaker, the defender of the rainbow. And this is the difference between Rhys and Tamlin. Rhys says to her, you might be my mate, he said, but you remain your own person. You decide your fate, your choices, not me. You choose yesterday, you choose every day, forever. Which I was like preaching. I was like, yes, she's her own person. She's got a man, but she she's her own person. Like, leave her alone. Like, Tamlin was like, no, you must not leave. It's like, who do you think you are? Please leave. Like, get out. Then we have this huge scene with the king at the very end, which was, oh, so much was going on in like the last 20 pages. I was like freaking out. Feyre makes a sacrifice so that Rhysand and his inner circle and his people won't suffer. So he chooses to go back with Tamlin, and she makes the king break their bond. Break their bond. It doesn't actually break. You break the one that was at the end of this one. So like the original arrangement, that is broken. So that's why the tattoo disappears. That's why all that shit happens. But they don't break their mating bond. They don't. They pretend they did, but they didn't. So then Feyre goes back with Tamlin, which, no. But she goes back with Tamlin to Rhysand through her mind. So she's going to be able to communicate things back and forth with him. She's going to be a spy. She's acting all lovey with Tamlin. I'm like, please no, stop. But I'm like, just do it. I'm just going to I don't want to read that. But she just made a sacrifice. And I absolutely love not Tamlin. I fucking hate Tamlin. I absolutely love Rhysand and his people and Feyre. So my children, like, no. And I love the part where the last 2 chapters or so, we get one from Rhysand's perspective and then one from Feyre's perspective. So that was interesting because we never had that before. Basically, there's this whole thing that happened, like they got married or some shit. Like, I totally was like, wait, what? Because he says that your high lady made a sacrifice for her court, and we will move when the time is right. So they're married now? I was like, huh? Like, so much was happening in such a short period of time, and like it was like 5 a.m. and I was like, what? But I love the very last line, when it says, and so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory, which is about to end badly. So I'm super excited. And there is this talk about a war, the whole book. And like when Feyre was telling Tamlin about it near the beginning, he's like, no, like that's not true. Like Rhysand's just like bullshitting you, blah, blah, blah. Even though everyone else was like, yeah, there's a war coming. When we were like here, and they were talking about the war starting soon, I was like, or the war like about to start, I was like, we're not gonna get to the war, are we? So that means shit's gotta go down here. So we're gonna have, that's why it's called ACO War. Wait. Mind blown. I just came to that realization. Okay, that's why it's called ACO War. Like I knew the war wasn't the thing, but then I just finished this, so I haven't like connected the dots yet. So that's why it's called ACO War. And that blade, Feyre's gonna fight. Like this is gonna be a good time. Anyways, that was my thoughts on A Court of Mist and Fury. I would definitely recommend checking it out. And I'm sure you have, if that's why you stayed this long for the spoilers, if you've checked it out. But I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I've been sitting here for half an hour. So, I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. And I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope you love this book too. But yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. If you're gonna mention spoilers, just put the spoiler thingy at the top so then, you know, people don't get spoiled. But yeah, I'm gonna go read this ASAP. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Bye.
He holds the gun against my head. I close my eyes and bang, I am dead. I know